Somewhere underneath your refrigerator right now, there is a tray you have never cleaned. Most people don't even know it exists. It's not in the manual you skimmed once and threw away. It's not mentioned on the sticker inside the door. It sits low, tucked behind a thin panel near the bottom, and its entire job is to catch the water that drips off your evaporator coils every single time your fridge cycles through a defrost. That water has to go somewhere. Refrigerators are built to melt a thin layer of frost off the coils periodically, so the system doesn't freeze soils. The melted water runs down a small tube and lands in this tray, where it's supposed to slowly evaporate off using the heat from the compressor underneath. In theory, it's a clean, self-managing system. In practice, it becomes one of the dirtiest, most bacteria-dense spots in the entire kitchen, and it sits 3 feet from the food you eat every day. Here's why. That tray is warm, damp, dark, and almost never disturbed. That is the exact combination mold and bacteria need to thrive. Add in the dust, pet hair, and kitchen grease that drift underneath the fridge over months, and you get a tray that isn't just holding water anymore, it's holding a slurry. People who finally pull theirs out for the first time in years describe it the same way almost every time. Grey sludge, a smell like a wet basement, sometimes a fuzzy film across the surface. It is not something you want breeding 36 inches from your produce drawer, and this isn't a one-time build-up. It refills constantly. Every defrost cycle adds a little more water, a little more residue, a little more food for whatever's growing down there. Left alone, that tray becomes a standing source of musty odor that people blame on their garbage, their sink, their dishwasher, anything except the one place they never think to look. Today we're pouring hydrogen peroxide into it, along with several other places in and around your fridge that are quietly working against you. Same bottle you already have in the bathroom, same 3% concentration you'd use on a scraped knee. Grab it, and let's go find that tray. 1. Locate and flush the drip tray, unplug the fridge or pull it away from the wall enough to access the back or bottom panel. This varies by model, so check whether your tray sits at the bottom front behind a kick plate or at the back near the compressor. Slide it out carefully. It's usually just resting in a track, no screws involved. Dump out whatever liquid or sludge has collected. Don't just rinse it in the sink and put it back. That's how people end up doing this every 3 months instead of fixing it properly. Pour in enough hydrogen peroxide to cover the bottom of the tray, about ½ an inch, and let it sit for 10 minutes. The peroxide breaks down the biofilm, that slippery, slightly slimy layer bacteria build to protect themselves, and oxidizes the organic buildup that's causing the smell. Scrub gently with an old toothbrush, dump it out, rinse, and let it air dry completely before sliding it back in. Do this once and you've removed months of accumulated bacteria in about 15 minutes. 2. Treat the drain tube. While that tray is out, don't ignore the small tube that feeds it. This tube runs from the back of your freezer compartment down to the tray, and it clogs more often than people realize. Food debris, ice fragments, and the same biofilm from the tray itself can build up inside it and cause water to back up instead of draining properly. Using a turkey baster or a small funnel, run a few tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide down the tube. You'll often hear it bubble as it breaks down whatever's built up inside. This is also the fix if you've noticed water pooling inside your fridge or freezer for no obvious reason. A clogged drain tube is one of the most common causes, and most people never trace it back this far. 3. Wipe down the coil area. The tray isn't the only thing hiding under there. The condenser coils and the space around them collect dust, grease, and pet hair that can restrict airflow and make your fridge work harder than it needs to, which shows up on your energy bill whether you notice it or not. Dampen a cloth with hydrogen peroxide and wipe down the surfaces around the coils. Not the coils themselves if they're delicate metal fins, just the housing and nearby panel. This isn't primarily about bacteria here, it's about breaking down the greasy film that dust sticks to, so future buildup wipes away easier next time instead of caking on. Here is the thing, most people watch videos like this and then forget half of it by the time they actually need it. So I put everything into one document. It is called the Hydrogen Peroxide Home Handbook. 19 pages, 45 uses, every room in the house. The exact amounts are written out so you never have to guess or come back and re-watch. You can print it out and keep it under the sink right next to the bottle. One-time purchase, $14.95, no subscription, no app, just a PDF that is yours forever. Link is in the description. 4. Deep clean the door gasket. Come back up to eye level for this one. The rubber gasket that seals your fridge door is folded, ridged, and constantly exposed to condensation, which makes it one of the most mold-prone surfaces in your entire kitchen, and almost nobody checks it closely. Pull the gasket gently away from the door and look into the folds. If you see black or dark green specks, That's mold, and it's been sitting there sealing in whatever odor you've been smelling every time you open the door. Spray hydrogen peroxide directly into the folds, let it sit 5 minutes, then work an old toothbrush into every ridge. Wipe clean with a damp cloth. Do both the fridge and freezer gaskets. Freezer gaskets get overlooked constantly because people assume the cold prevents mold. It doesn't. Mold tolerates cold far better than most people expect. 5. Sanitize the interior shelves and drawers. Take out your shelves and drawers. Yes, all of them, and lay them on a towel. These surfaces touch raw meat packaging, leaking produce, spilled milk, and everything in between, and a simple wipe down with a rag usually just moves bacteria around instead of removing it. Spray hydrogen peroxide directly onto the glass or plastic, let it sit 2 to 3 minutes to actually do its job, then wipe clean with a dry cloth. Pay extra attention to the corners and the little grooves where shelves click into the frame. That's where spills pool and get trapped, invisible until you actually pull the piece out and look. 6. Treat the produce drawer specifically. Your produce drawer deserves its own step because it is, without question, the messiest part of the interior. Wilted lettuce leaves, a forgotten strawberry gone to mush, the residue from a leaking bag of spinach. This drawer accumulates moisture and organic matter faster than anywhere else in the fridge. And it's exactly the environment that lets bacteria like Listeria and E. coli persist longer than you'd expect. Empty it completely, spray it down heavily with hydrogen peroxide, and let it sit for a full 5 minutes this time, longer than the shelves, because this drawer needs it. Scrub any sticky residue in the corners, rinse and dry thoroughly before putting your produce back in. If you've ever pulled out a bag of greens that went slimy days before it should have, a contaminated drawer is very often why. 7. Wipe the door bins and bottle shelves. The door bins holding your condiments, milk and juice get skipped constantly because they don't look dirty at a glance, but condiment bottles drip down their own sides every time you use them, and that residue collects at the base of each bin. Sugar, salt, and moisture together, which is a textbook environment for bacterial growth. Pull the bins out if your model allows it, spray the basin walls with hydrogen peroxide, wait a couple of minutes, then wipe clean. It takes 90 seconds per bin and eliminates a source of buildup most people have literally never looked at. 8. Deodorize with a baking soda and peroxide paste. If your fridge has a lingering smell even after all this, it's usually not one dirty spot. It's porous plastic surfaces that have absorbed odor molecules over years of use. A quick wipe won't pull that out. You need something with a little more lift. Mix hydrogen peroxide with baking soda until it forms a loose paste, about the texture of wet sand. Apply it to any interior surface holding onto smell, the back wall, the underside of shelves, the walls of the crisper drawers, and let it sit for 10 minutes before wiping clean with a damp cloth. The combination lifts embedded odor rather than just masking it, which is the difference between a fridge that smells clean for a day and one that actually stays that way. 9. Clean the ice maker bin if your freezer has an ice maker. The bin holding that ice is a bacteria magnet almost nobody addresses. Ice sitting in a bin, melting slightly and refreezing over weeks creates the exact damp, dark conditions bacteria need. The same as the drip tray, just colder and less obvious. Empty the bin completely, discard old ice, and wipe the inside with a cloth dampened in hydrogen peroxide. Let it air dry fully before adding new ice. Do this every couple of months and you'll notice your ice actually tastes cleaner. A lot of people chalk up off-tasting ice to their water filter when the bin itself was the real problem the whole time. 10. Wipe the exterior handles and water dispenser last stop. And it's the one surface everyone in your house touches multiple times a day without thinking twice. Door handles and the water/ice dispenser button pick up whatever was on people's hands during meal prep, raw meat, allergens, whatever they touched before walking to the kitchen. A quick spray of hydrogen peroxide on a cloth, wiped across handles and the dispenser panel, takes 15 seconds and interrupts a transfer point that gets used dozens of times daily and cleaned almost never. That drip tray is the one most people will go check the second this video ends, and that's fair. It's the part nobody knew was there. But the drain tube and the door gaskets are usually the ones responsible for the smell that keeps coming back no matter how many times you clean the shelves. Do all 10 today and your fridge won't just look cleaner, it'll actually be cleaner in the places that matter, for the first time in longer than you probably want to admit. If this helped, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next one.